This week I've been playtesting Isospeed Rexxer, which is a green polystring. It's oval, which is marketed for being for aggressive players who like to hit hard with control, but it is also talked about as being a really loud string. So I didn't necessarily buy this to see if is it really loud, but someone did recommend I try it, and I do remember then it was marketed as being loud. So yeah, I was interested to see, is it loud? But then also just generally, how did it play? Let's find out. So this is the 1.25mm version of the string. I have strung it at 52 pounds in my Technifiber T-Fight. They do say to string it 10% lower than normal. That said, I find 52 is kind of okay. And to be honest, in my playtest, I didn't really feel like I could go lower than 52 due to one of the big qualities was you can get a lot of power off of this thing. So it's obviously green. It's not quite sort of a neon green like from Toraline, but it's not, probably a little bit lighter than Hyper-G. Yeah, I mean, it's green, stands out. I found it to be relatively firm. Obviously I'm stringing it a bit higher, but I think even if it was lower, I think this is still quite a firm polystring, which may be why Isospeed market this and say it's for more advanced to pro players. It did have a very similar feel to Solinco Confidential or Headlinks Tour in terms of the level of stiffness. I didn't really find it uncomfortable, but I think anybody who has any sort of arm issues, you're probably going to find this quite stiff. Now, what about that whole thing about this being really loud? Because honestly, when I strung it and then I took it out to play with it, I was kind of actually a bit worried because I was like, I don't know if I really want this to be loud. You know, on one hand, you kind of think, haha, wouldn't it be funny to sort of hit a serve and it go bang? But then you kind of think if I'm hitting like in a group and suddenly I'm there hitting and this string's going bang, bang, bang. Personally, I think that'd be a little bit embarrassing. You know, it's nice to have a bit of noise coming off your strings, but you know, not so much that you kind of sound like you're a car backfiring. Anyway, it made no distinctive noise whatsoever. So I don't know if you need to string this in sort of the mid-40s, but to be honest, if a string's loud, then it should be loud at any tension. Didn't notice any loudness. And to be honest, there is another YouTube channel, which I do sometimes watch. They reviewed this string, talked about it being loud, but when they did their playtest, they played music over the playtest. So I don't know if they were sort of paid to say, yeah, it's really loud, but then, you know, they couldn't demonstrate that. I don't know. It's not loud. So let's actually talk about the thing that really matters. How did it play? So it's definitely firm and crisp. I did actually really quite like the feel of it. It felt quite connected. That said, the natural launch angle is quite low on this string, despite the fact it is an oval string. So it's kind of a slightly funny shape to it. I would say it hits flatter. So if you do want your string to naturally give you a higher launch angle and a bit of free spin, I found this was flatter compared to being a natural spin string. As mentioned, it's sort of firm, a bit like Solinco Confidential, but has a lot more power. Not so much to be something like Hyper-G or Mark 10 or Restring 0, but it certainly did give a bit of pop, but it felt quite controlled pop. So I did like that. Now, while I think this hits naturally a bit sort of lower, if you did go for spin, it did respond. And that's probably the oval nature of the string. Plus, you know, it's got a relative bit of snapback, but certainly I think probably the shape, it did give you spin when you asked for it. So overall, this was quite a clean, firm, confident feeling string. It wasn't that forgiving. I mean, if you did hit off center, then didn't feel fantastic. It's not going to give you that sort of comfort or cushioning, but it really did reward. When I really went at the ball, hit through it really aggressively, then yeah, you really got something off this string and you could bring a level of control into it. But that said, when I went into, and always the measure for me is when I go into match-like hitting with people of the sort of standard that I'm playing, didn't quite hold up for me. Didn't have the level of sort of utter stiffness and control and precision that I get off of Solinco Confidential. I think it just had touch too much power, which frankly now I realize I'm really not looking for. So who is it for? Aggressive baseliners who like to really hit flat through the ball, but who when they want to put spin on, they want to be rewarded for it. So flat hitting, but spin when you want it. Those who do crave that control and the connected feel, but when they do want that extra bit of power from the strings, they don't want to have to generate it all themselves. And who it's not for, If you have arm issues, I think you are going to feel this is really quite stiff. And if you do prefer a string that gives you a natural higher launch angle and more feel, I don't think this is the string for you. And also, if you are expecting this to make it sound like when you serve, it goes bang and everyone looks around and goes, wow, listen to that. I didn't really get this more than any other string I've tried. In fact, there are others that I've tried that are definitely louder than this. Not quiet, but nothing to speak of in terms of being loud, as far as I found. Value-wise, you get it for about £126 a reel and about sort of £8.50, £9 a set. So I think it's a good price. I mean, basically, if you like Hyper-G and want something stiffer, then this could be a really nice option for you, to be honest. So as a wrap up, I don't think it's a magic string. I think it's a good string. It's got quite a lot of really nice qualities, and I'm sure there are players who might listen to this and say, I think I might like to give that a go. And I'd say, definitely do. Not if you really care about the loud sound. You know, if you're only buying it for that, I would say, I don't know, I didn't experience it. So it'd be really interesting to know, have you tried this string? Was it loud for you? Otherwise, you know, I mean, frankly, does anyone really care about that? That's outside of it being a gimmick. So if you have tried this, how did it play? What racket did you have it in? And what qualities did you like? Or are there other strings from the Isospeed brand that you think are really worth trying? Love to hear your thoughts.